How's it going?
How are you? I am well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm excited. Thanks for coming on the show here and talking to me.
Yeah,
I've
of
been
course.
been a big fan for many years,
Thank
uh,
you.
and so here we go.
Okay.
And and I've noticed you got a voice for the radio. You ever thought about doing working like at a radio
Yeah,
station?
people. I appreciate it. Thank you. People have asked me that for years. So far, no one's given me a friggin' radio show. I am starting a podcast
Okay.
though. Next month. I guess it's one of these things. All your friends are doing it, so I'm going to do it too. I don't know. I enjoy being on them probably more than hosting them, but
Yeah.
whatever. I'll see. I'll see how it goes.
I think everybody will love it. Yeah. Well, you got it. You're ahead of the game though with the voice though. So there you go.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so tell me now. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. You've got the Swords and Tequila song that just came out, right? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so Jeff Scott Soto and I have been friends for many years. I
Awesome.
actually hired him to sing on a track that I wrote and was, doing a record demoing up last year, and it was great. And he's just a great guy. He's a consummate professional and
Yeah.
sounded amazing. And so I'd always kept it in the back of my mind that we should try to do something together. And as we turned the corner into 2021. I was just thinking about just doing some new stuff, some different things, collaborating, writing with different people, and that I hit Jeff. I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes and he goes, "Look, why don't we just write, see what we come up with, see where it goes?" And that's where we're at. We've written 15 songs.
Wow.
We're actually mixing this week these ideas, and when we put out Swords and Tequila, right away a manager friend reached out. I mean, right away it popped.
Yeah.
It had immediate interest. And I called my friend Rick Hughes from the band Sword up in Canada, and I love Sword. I mean, we're in Megadeth. We were big fans of the Metalized record that was out back in like 1986 while we were on the Peace Sells tour.
Right.
And Rick is just a lovely guy. Again, an amazing singer, just a great, real rock and roll singer. And it was fun to have him collaborate on the track as well, be part of that. And so Jeff and I talked about, we mixed a couple tracks, Swords and Tequila being one of them. And I thought, rather than give away one of our original tunes, let's push this cover out. This cover's got some real magic to it. It pops.
Right.
And let's lead with this and run it up the flagpole and see what people think. And it got saluted right away.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Awesome.
I think we read that one right, and now we're working on the original tunes and getting those mixed. I mean, since we did Swords of Tequila, I mean, man, we've been powering, man. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been working hard, and so it's great to see this heading into kind of the final stages. And but it's been great. We've had a really great collaborative relationship, along with our guitar player Andy Martingelli over
Awesome.
in Italy. He worked with me in the Ellefson band, and Andy's great. He's a great writer. He's got good instincts on all things metal and hard rock, and
Right.
so we got a good little wheelhouse going here.
I'm looking forward to that, man. In the song, I mean, it sounds fresh. It sounds like it sounds like an original, even though, it was a Riot song, right?
Right.
But it sounds so good, man. And I'm looking forward to hearing all those. And Jeff Scott Soto, I've loved for years too,
Jeff's amazing. I mean, come on, as soon as you hear Rising Force, God, and I think that's part of it is okay, the guy from Megadeth and the guy from Yngwie's band. You know what I mean?
That's
it's
it.
kind of like, right? I mean, I've done my own stuff and Jeff's done his own stuff, but let's call it what it is. I mean, the first impression is the lasting impression, right?
Yeah.
So it's got the guy from Megadeth, the guy from Yngwie. Like, what is that going to sound like? And I assure you, it's going to be everything you would hope and expect it to be, and a whole lot more. And that's been the fun part is finding our common ground and then going out and exploring some uncharted territory together too.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm looking forward to that. And I know I'm also a huge fan of Journey, so I know he was in Journey for a little bit, so that's pretty cool there too. So
he was, and
yeah.
he did a record with Neil Schoen. We actually did a live stream or Zoom interview or something a week ago or so, and he was talking about that because I didn't know, and it was fun to listen to him explain that journey of how things were written and how he excuse me, he didn't write songs for Journey, but he and Neil Sheldon collaborated on some stuff. So that's how these things happen. You get invited to the party, and for one reason, and while you're there, it's like any good party. You strike up a conversation with people, and next thing you know, you're called in to be part of other things, and you get invited to other parties, and that's what music is as well. It's just you get in the room and you mingle, and
there you go.
It's easy to start collaborating and working on other things together.
Awesome. So let's go back. So how did you start playing bass? Did you just wake up one day and you said, I think I'll play the bass? That's it? No. What happened to you? How did you get started on that?
It kind of was that simple, ironically.
Oh, was it? Oh, wow.
I always say our instruments choose us. We don't choose our instruments. And I say that because as musicians I've met, my parents bought a Wurlitzer organ as a kid, so I took some basically piano lessons on the organ. Then I took up the tenor saxophone in 5th grade, and none of that was music I liked. I didn't enjoy the music. I really didn't enjoy learning the process, even though I did notice that I was a pretty quick learner, and it came, fairly naturally to me. I had to put some time into it. I mean, it's not like I just sat down at the piano and became Mozart. I had to do some work,
Right.
But, when I started hearing rock and roll on the radio, which were, was Styx and Kiss, Bachman Turner Overdrive, and then Foreigner and Chicago and 10cc and, the stuff that was out back in the kind of mid 70s, late 70s.
Right.
That's the stuff that got me excited. And somehow, I don't know how, one day the bass guitar came across my radar, I think by way of Bachman Turner Overdrive, the Not Fragile album. And then even, Buck His Destroyer, and right away in Detroit Rock City, there's that bitchin' Bassline. Gene's got one of the best bass fills ever in a song.
I love that.
It's just so cool, man. And, suddenly the bass guitar got my attention as this cool instrument, and I just gravitated toward it. And that's what I'm saying. It called out to me. I mean, why would a kid growing up in the cornfields of rural Minnesota suddenly be attracted to a bass guitar? And,
right.
Once the bass guitar and rock and roll showed up in my life, now it was about being a rock star.
Right.
It wasn't just about being a musician. It's like, I want to fucking go be a rock star.
That's it.
And all that it is, so that's been my life's pursuit. And all these years later, I'm still doing it. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. And, I don't know. One day, it might all work.
Yeah, I think you'll figure it out one day. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And everybody knows you from Megadeth. So how did you get up with those guys? How did you meet Dave Mustaine?
Well, it's funny. My son Roman today was just telling me that I think tomorrow. And this must have been on the internet. He saw it that tomorrow, April 10th, was actually Dave Mustaine's last show with Metallica in 1983.
Oh wow!
At Lemoore in Brooklyn, and so it's interesting that he then went back to California, and was starting over, regrouping, and I met him. I'm going to say first week of June, 1983. So like 6-7 weeks later.
Wow.
Right? Wow. And so again, just like how the bass found me, the good Lord saw fit to connect me and Dave.
Yeah.
Because me and my friends were moving from Minnesota out to Hollywood with the ambition of going to Musicians Institute. Got there, moved into our apartment. Met Dave, and my friend Greg, who was a guitar player, right away said, "Oh my God, we got to play with Dave. That guy's fucking awesome." And Dave, right away, you could tell like Dave's a rock star. You know what I mean? And he was. We heard some of the new music he was playing. Had not heard of Metallica yet because they, Kill 'Em All wasn't out yet.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, this is cool. This is a path forward for all of us. Dave needed musicians. I needed a band, and that's where it started, So that was June of 1983, and here we are,
Wow.
Again. still doing our thing.
Something must have worked out. You must have a pretty good relationship with Dave for all these years, if you're still around, right?
I mean, I do. I think, we both do. I understood what the sort of the parameters of Megadeth were, even before we called it Megadeth. I mean, I could just tell when you're in the room with Dave, it's like, okay, he's going to run the show. He's running the room. Things are going to go down as he wants it. I mean, you can just tell he's that guy that he puts that off, this is how this is going to go. So it's kind of like, do you want to be part of that or not? And that's not for everybody.
Right.
Certainly we've had enough musicians in Megadeth over the years to know, like, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Even Marty Friedman at some point said, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
I want to do things my way. I want to be my own guy again. And so he departed and became his own guy. And Al Petrelli said, yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go back and work for Paul O'Neill and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So he left,
Right.
And other people, couldn't sort of figure it out. Chris Poland has talked about, even in my book, More Life with Death, he said, he goes, I should have paid more attention to how David Ellefson responded and just done it Dave's way.
Right.
Like Ellefson clearly figured out you can be your own guy, but you got to be your own guy Dave's way. You know what I mean? And that's again, not everybody can handle that. Some people are like, fuck that. I'm not doing it my way. And I'm not willing to bend. And so again, being in a band is no different than showing up and going to work.
That's true.
There's a boss, there's a hierarchy, everybody has a role. And if you can be comfortable in that role, then it works. If you can't, well, there's the door. We'll get someone else.
Right. Yeah, well, that's understandable. And like you said, it's worked out for this long. So, may it continue, right?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a bigger picture, It's like, I was content being a blank canvas for Dave to create with, and just sort of being a tool in the easel of his creative, aperture, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's where it started. And look, it's gone through many transitions.
Yeah.
There's been, collaborative things. There have been group collaborations. There have been, moments when Dave said, hey, I want you to go out and find this song or this lyric or this music, and I want you to bring it into the band. So,
right.
Again, we've done it a lot of different ways, but, at the end of the day, it's, it ultimately goes down Dave's way, and I think I've always respected that, and that's why we've had our friendship, but that's why we've had our working relationship in the band.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. And I was thinking about your bass line. Everybody knows this bass line, Peace Sells, but who's buying, right? And so how did you come up with that? I know you've probably been asked that, but how did you just make that so unique and the sound and how it flows with the song? How did that work?
It was actually a line that Dave came up with. I had this fretless BC Rich bass, and I don't know how it became fretless. At some point we ripped the frets out of it and it became
You made
fretless. It was, I think it was the white bass that had the blood splattered on it that you see some early pictures of me with. I think at that I tried to put a Kaler bridge on it and I ruined the bass and it didn't work. So we basically, I think at some point we ripped the frets out. Somebody sanded it and painted it, and didn't paint it. They just sort of lacquered it. It was like a natural finish at that point. But however it came to pass, we were living with our the engineer from the Killing Is My Business record, Carrot Fay. We were living up at his house up in Laurel Canyon, and Dave just picked up the bass and started playing this line, and he says, hey, Junior, come here, play this part, so I started playing it, and we went to rehearsal that night, and we got in the room, and that song pretty much wrote itself in a couple hours, know. And I would say probably the bigger Megadeth hits have done that. I mean, Peace Sells, Symphony of Destruction, Sweating Bullets, Train of Consequences. Some songs start and then they need pruning and tending and sweetening and seasoning to before they become, a full song. Others, like Piecells pretty much write themselves in an evening,
Right.
and it's cool when you find that. You're like, wow, there's the riff,
Right.
and then from there it becomes the song.
Yeah, and it sounds great. And you ever go back and listen to that and go, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean,
I mostly, for my point of reference with that song is I think about that night we were putting it together, and Gar just playing a very, very simple groove.
Yeah.
Because that's not something Gar normally did. Gar was a very progressive drummer. So for him to just keep a simple groove was kind of counterintuitive for him, but he did it, and it just locked down this nice pocket. For me, Dave, and Chris to just lock in on the you know what I mean? Like that requires discipline. It's funny, as much as we're these very accomplished musicians and players, and we can play a lot of stuff, sometimes for guys like us to just discipline ourselves to play very simple is a whole other level of musicianship, because it requires you to just say very little and just kind of be okay with saying a little, because that statement is so big, and I think about when we took that song out on the road. We did a tour in early '86, which became kind of the pre-production tour for that record. In those days we could go out and play all the new songs, and they didn't end up on the internet. Today if we went out and played the new album before it came out, it'd be on YouTube.
That's exactly right.
Like, why even record it?
That's
the whole
true.
thing would be freaking spoiled.
Exactly.
But back then we could, and I just remember every night that we played that song, you kind of read the room and you go, yeah, we got something here. This song's going to be a hit. And fortuitous timing that Capitol Records came to the party after we recorded the record and picked it up and bought our contract, and then that allowed that song to have a big platform, and again, it ended up on MTV and all the other great things that happened with it.
Right. That's awesome song.
Yeah.
And the sound, I always love the sound, in the thrashy sound, the bass, the drums and everything. But, and I know Megadeth has gone through that transition of different sounds. And I know a lot of people give, like, the album Risk, which, speaks for itself, a hard time. But I wonder, why do they always try to compare, like they try to compare an album, it's got to be as thrashy or sound like a certain album, like Rust in Peace. It's got to be like that, or I'm going to give it an F because why do they do that?
Well, I assume you and me are probably a little bit older guys, what I mean?
Right.
So we've kind of been around the block a couple more times.
Right.
But I think about me when I was young, okay? So, like, I was a big Kiss fan, right? So a Kiss record would come out, and I benchmarked it against my first record, which was Destroyer.
Right.
In my mind, the perfect album, Rock and Roll Over comes out. I'm like, okay, pretty good, not bad. I still like Destroyer better. And then Love Gun comes out. It's like, yep, pretty good. Maybe, in my opinion, a little better than Rock and Roll Over, but still not as good as Destroyer, right? Right. And then, you know what I mean? So I kind of benchmark everything against that, as the Foreigner song said, it feels like the first time.
Right.
When I go back, I listen to that first Foreigner album. Fucking amazing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Especially that song. I mean, there are these hits.
Yes.
So, a lot of this stuff is like that. I mean, I've talked to fans who have said the same thing. They go, why do people give Risk a hard time? Like, I was 13 years old, and that was the first record I ever bought. It was the first Megadeth record I ever bought. I love it. It was, that was, and then I bought every other Megadeth album since,
right.
And that's when I realized, don't ever bash your own work. Because I think maybe we were, again, when we were making the records, it was not an easy record to make. It was a very difficult record to make because we were stretching out and exploring some stuff that is not in our liking. And I think Jimmy Grasso said it best. He said, I joined Megadeth thinking we were going to play Holy Wars. Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm in the studio recording Breadline.
Right.
And
totally
kind of going, okay, I'm in the band. I've signed on. I'm going along with this journey, but this feels a little weird. Like we might be going a little too far out of our boundary.
Right.
Yet at the same time, as we were making it, I remember sitting on the airplane, me and Dave and Marty were sitting in a row, leaving Phoenix, flying up to, I think, I don't know, Denver or something. We were starting a promotion tour. And I remember Dave had the mixes, and he said, "Here, you want to listen to it?" And I remember it was in like a cassette Walkman or like a Discman, maybe it was on CD or something, right?
Right.
And I sat in the plane and I listened to it, and I just remember just going, "Fuck, man, this is a great record."
Yeah.
And it really, Dan Huff's production.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great producer.
Love Dan.
He's worked with Taylor Swift and Keith Urban. I mean, everybody.
Yes.
And at the time, he was pretty new in his producing career, but man, he really had a skill, And he made, I always say, the two Dan Huff records, Cryptic Writings and Risk.
Yeah.
When I listened back to those, suddenly those records were better than the band I was in.
They're good. They're good. Yeah.
There was a polish and a next level excitement in those records that made us better when we went to go play them live, because now we had to sound as good as that record. And I think every record we've done has done that. Every record sort of raises the caliber of the band. But Dan had there's like special magic in his work, And I just remember going, man, because I remember as a kid, like, I'd get like a Cheap Trick record, and I'd go, how come my band doesn't sound as good as Cheap Trick? Like these records sound great, and they're so polished, and everything's in tune. And then I play with my band, and we'll play a Cheap Trick song, and it's kind of noisy and thrashy, and like, what the hell, And so I felt like with those Dan Huff records, like, that was a moment where it didn't just sound like Megadeth recorded our music. It sounded like someone made a record, like it really went to the next level of it just came out better than we were, you know what I mean? And I just, it was such a great, just sort of transitional process for us making those albums with him.
Yeah. I remember, thinking the same thing. I know it went from, the heavier albums, and kind of mellowed out, but I've been a fan of Dan, when he was with Giant, and I had his brother on here, David, a few months back. Yep. And I think overall, he's just a talented guy, like playing guitar and singing, loved his voice, loved everything. So he probably had this certain view of how he wanted it. And he took an awesome band like Megadeth to make that sound. I think that's a hard thing to do for everybody. And when y'all were doing the same thing, like you said earlier, when you're having to play an instrument and kind of holding back, or maybe playing a different style to fit that album, I think that's like that's a doggone underrated album. I don't care what anybody says. That and Cryptic Writings. Cryptic Writings is one of the best. I gotta say,
I agree.
It's just really good. Which all of them are, of course, but that's just really, and you could tell that you worked hard on it, regardless of what people say. So that makes you, you need to think about that, like you said earlier, when you're down on yourself about your own stuff, So.
Yeah, you always, you work hard on a record, and you hope it gets well received, and sometimes when it's not, your first reaction is, screw them. Like, how dare they not like our stuff? And then you got to step back and be critical and go, okay, well, why don't they like it? Like, what's the deal here? You know what I mean? And, so those are the moments that I think, you have to, you gotta, again, be a little more critical about, what could we have done better? Where did we miss the mark? Did we go too far left? Did we go too far right? What's the deal? You know what I mean?
Right.
And yet at the same time, that was an interesting. Megadeth has survived a lot of different transitions, not just internally with our own band and our own lineups and stuff, but also with the world changing around us.
Yeah, that's right.
With hair metal bands being all the rave, and we're kind of the underdog, and then all of a sudden, Nirvana shows up, and Seattle music changes the landscape, and
right.
then, new metal, Korn, and those guys come in and they do their thing, and by the time we did Risk, now all of a sudden there was Godsmack and Disturbed, and Seven Dust and all these others, kind of a new movement of this sort of radio rock sound going on. And,
Right.
so, I think as a group, certainly such as Megadeth, we try to always be who we are, no matter what. And because by the time you're chasing a trend, you're already behind it.
That's right.
You want to be ahead of it, and the only way to be ahead of it is to just do your own thing, and then sometimes you just do your own thing long enough, and then look at the end. By the end of Slayer, suddenly everyone's a Slayer fan.
Right.
And I can assure you, back in the '80s, not everybody was a Slayer fan, because they were very niche and very particular to who their fans were.
That's right.
And but yeah, by the end, all of a sudden, like, everybody's like Slayer, and it's like, are you really a Slayer fan, or are you just kind of getting sucked into the tailwind?
Exactly.
Everybody sort of says Slayer's cool, so all right, Slayer's cool because I'm just kind of following the crowd. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Whatever. But it's funny how perception becomes reality, So, and it's the Slayer's credit, they only did one thing for 35 years. They were Slayer. That's it.
That's it.
They never tried to write a pop song.
Right.
They never tried to write a ballad. They were just Slayer, and if there's one thing to be known for in your career is just being Slayer, that's a pretty freaking good way to hang it up and call it a day on that note.
That's right. And Megadeth has been going strong, and why do you think the fans are so they've always been there, they never give up on you through whatever? Why do you think that's the case?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, I think they look to Dave as their hero, their leader. And Dave's a fighter, and he's a survivor, Look, he's gone through being fired, kicked out, kicked down. He just went through cancer. He's been, the guy, he's a tireless warrior, and I think that's a big part of the Megadeth story, and that's worldwide, and that's just global. And then behind that, of course, there's this brotherhood between me and him, that, as much as Dave's the fighter, it's like Dave's the fighting one and I'm the friendly one, right? So that there's a chemistry there that people like. They're like, okay, as long as Ellefson's in the room, we feel safe, There
you go.
So there's a dynamic that works, and I think look, musically, the material's always been exceptionally well done, well played. These songs have stood the test of time, so they fall in the timeless category. And there's been a consistency. The Megadeth sound has been very consistent over the years.
Right.
And so that's, I think those are kind of the four or five components that make the thing, that's what makes it work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm wondering, when can we expect a new Megadeth album?
As soon as it's done.
Oh yeah, so whenever that day is, huh?
Part of it is as soon as it's done, and the other part of it is whenever the world opens up to the point that we can put it out and really get out and support it. There's no reason to be putting a record out in the middle of a pandemic, because it'll just die and go away. You know what I mean? It's so it's look, we've been taking this time to really deep dive and make this a great record. It's obviously following a great record in Dystopia.
Right.
Very acclaimed, Grammy award-winning record.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of got all these sort of top-level benchmark standards that this next record, we want it to be that good, obviously. But the year it's 4 or 5 years later now too. So it's I think always when you make a record, you're comparing it to yourself. You're comparing it to what else is out there. But most importantly, I think artistically, what are we saying? Do we have anything to say? If you don't have anything to say, don't make a record. Take your time and live life and get something to say. And I think that's been part of this journey, is making sure that what we're saying on this record is something that's not a repeat from us, or from anybody, and it's fresh and it's new, and because that's what makes a timeless record, is when you've got something new to say.
Well, it always seems like there's a lot to say these days, especially from the point of view that Megadeth, is known for, I guess politically or in that kind of form. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can talk about as far as that goes.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
well, I won't keep you, but I know you've got a Bass Chronicles tour coming up, right? And you've got
I do, yeah, yep.
And a movie. You know, and I won't keep you or anything, but I just want to give a quick, talk
sure,
of that.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, the Dwellers film is coming out October 12th.
Awesome.
Right up ahead of that, I got some offers to do some solo shows as the storyteller stuff, and I decided to call it Bass Chronicles. We had Bass Story, which we still have, but that was themed around the My Life with Death book.
Okay.
And then we did the More Life with Death tour, which was themed around that memoir.
Right.
And then now my new book, Rockstar Hitman: The Sledge Chronicles, is out. And we actually have a second book we're going to be putting out this fall. So that's why I thought we could do the Bass Chronicles, which ties in well with that book.
Awesome.
And the book and the movie have some cross references as well. So it's all sort of tied together. And so hence the idea of calling this one. So we went from Bass Story to More Life with Death to the Bass Chronicles.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to all that. You got a lot going on that all the fans can really enjoy and sink their teeth into, man. That's good stuff, man.
I play music for fun, man. Look, it's a profession and it's all that, but I've never done it for the money. I've never done it for anything else other than just having fun, and more now probably at this point in my life than ever.
That's great.
To still be one of the last ones standing in our genre and, of our peers, to still be out doing it, man. To me, it's all the more reason to just make music for fun.
Well, there you go. Well, I hope you continue to do it for a long, long time, and I'm looking forward to everything that you do, man. I'm a really big fan, and I appreciate you talking. Thanks, man.
Yep.
And I hope you have a good night. Be looking forward to everything, like I said, and everybody's going to enjoy it. So take care, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yep. See you, Gary.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.